These challenges, in our opinion, seem to have overwhelmed our security institutions.
The governors are supposed to be the state security officers of their state.
There is need for us to at least engage the traditional rulers.
We need to do something about our porous borders.
We have to own it from the unit level to the ward level to the local government to state.
Mr. President, the importance of today for us is for us to take action.
Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The President duly approved and provided the funds, for the resuscitation and refitting, of that ship.
Senate secures presidential approval for the refurbishing of Nigeria's warship NNS Aradu.
We spent months to get this report. You see, the agencies of government, they take it as a normal thing every year that, after the report, nothing happens.
And Senate takes measures that would compel the executive to implement reports of the Public Accounts Committee. Hello and welcome to Inside the Senate. The 9th Senate has again recorded another milestone achievement with securing presidential approval for the release of funds for the rehabilitation of Nigeria's #1 warship, NNS Aradu. In another decision, the Senate took action to compel the executive arm of government into implementing the reports of its Public Accounts Committee. Reports on these, alongside some of the bills that scaled second and third reading before the Senate's recess for the Easter and Sallah break, form our package for the program for this week. I am Hussaina Amina Aboki, your regular host. Inside the Senate continues after a short break. Don't go away.
The Senate to send a message to the President
To reap opportunities from that.
To raise a matter of urgent public importance. And we are aware that when this particular motion comes up
For a longer term development,
arise to second the motion.
Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Welcome back. The 9th Senate has once again recorded a landmark achievement with the securing of presidential approval for the release of funds to rehabilitate Nigeria's #1 warship, NNS Aradu. The journey to this achievement commenced in November 2021 with a motion sponsored by Senator Thompson Sakibo, alerting the Senate of the state of disrepair, degradation and deplorable condition of the vessel, all of which exposed her to the threat of being cannibalized or even sinking. One of the resolutions of the motion was to constitute an ad hoc committee headed by the former Senate leader, Senator Yahya Abdullahi, to act towards rehabilitating it and making it seaworthy. Having conducted a thorough job, the chairman, in a report to plenary on the 5th of April 2023, disclosed that the ship is so important to the Nigerian Navy that its operations would continually be handicapped without it. He gave more insight into the importance of the ship and some of the operations it successfully partook in.
This ship is too important for the nation's security, to be left, in the kind of state that the committee found it in the national dockyard. This ship is the flagship of the Nigerian Navy. It participated in so many operations, creditably, and is one of the ships, actually the main battleship, which saw to the end of Nigeria's Liberian Civil War. Without that ship, Nigeria's Liberian Civil War would not have been won.
He also gave a highlight of actions taken by the committee, which yielded a positive outcome with a presidential approval for her rehabilitation.
We invited the Minister of Defense, and he came, and we agreed with him, and a letter was raised to the President, and the President duly approved and provided the funds, for the resuscitation and refitting, of that ship.
He advised that when in top form, the ship is capable of providing naval gunfire and shore bombardment support for land troops during amphibious operations, accommodating shipborne helicopters for search and rescue and enhanced surveillance or detection, capable of anti-air, anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare, as well as armed with 8 automatic ship-to-ship missiles, 24 surface-to-air missiles alongside other highly sophisticated weapons. With this, The Senate resolves to commend President Muhammadu Buhari for graciously giving his approval for the release of funds to the Ministry of Defense and the Nigerian Navy for the refurbishing of NNS Aradu in order to bring it back to life. Ratify President Muhammadu Buhari's approval to provide the funds needed to resuscitate NNS Aradu and upgrade it in conformity with ships of its type all over the world. Let's take a break to open the Senate notebook. Please stay tuned.
The legislature performs the following functions: 1. Lawmaking. 2. Representation. 3. Appropriation. 4. Oversight duties. 5. Ratification of bilateral treaties, as well as 6. Screening and confirmation of presidential nominees, a function carried out by the Senate only.
Welcome back. In the week under review, the Chairman, Senate Public Accounts Committee, Senator Matthew Urogide, presented the annual report of the Auditor General of the Federation on the account of the Federation for the year ended 31st December 2016. Let's take a report on this and other events. Keep watching.
The detailed report captured in the sustained queries.
Senator Matthew Urogide, who presented the report on Tuesday, the 4th of April 2023, lamented non-response to the queries of the Auditor General of the Federation by some MDAs. He added that in 2016, the Auditor General issued queries to 92 MDAs, out of which 80 gave written responses and appeared before the committee. 8 submitted memoranda but did not appear, while 4 failed to either appear or submit any response despite several reminders by the committee.
Out of the 80 MDAs that appeared before the committee, 43 had their queries vacated, while the queries of 37 MDAs were sustained and recommendations accordingly presented to the Senate. It is pertinent to note that the committee in sections 2 and 3 adopted the position of the Auditor General in its recommendations to the queries of the various MDAs who either did not appear before the committee, a public hearing, to defend their queries or did not respond to the committee's queries.
Due to some legislative exigencies, debate on the chairman's submission was deferred to the following day, Wednesday, the 5th of April 2023, during which lawmakers decried non-implementation of the report of the committee and suggested ways out.
We spent months to get this report. You see, the agencies of government, they've taken it as a normal thing every year that, well, after the report, nothing happens. Let there be a bill to form a law to implement this particular Public Account Committee report. This is where any government that is serious, that is ready to check corruption in this system, must ensure that report of Public Account Committees of National Assembly are fully implemented.
When you go through the recommendations of the committee, you'll find that either they are making a recommendation that certain kinds of rules have not been adhered to, or that the current procedures in the civil service rules and financial regulations are sort of difficult to think unless there are some amendments to those rules, which will obviate the need for some of the recommendations that are there. So the best way to go about it is for this chamber to adopt the report and then submit the report to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, which now will be responsible for drawing the attention of every MDA to areas that concern them regarding the implementation of the report.
Senate President Ahmad Lawan suggested an amendment to Section 85 of the Constitution, which accords constitutional backing to the committee with a view to compelling the executive into implementing the report of the committee.
There is nothing wrong if we look at Section 85 and where Public Accounts Committee is mentioned, we can do constitution amendment to include this thing we are saying that we should come through a bill, that the report of the Public Accounts Committee shall be submitted, after the adoption by the National Assembly chambers,
will be forwarded to the executive. The executive should treat the reports. Maybe we give timeline, I don't know how long. These are things we need to think through. And then we report back to the National Assembly chambers.
And with this, the suggestion was adopted.
Thank you.
Of the Agricultural Research Council Act in order to accommodate.
Before the break also, the Senate concurrently considered the report of the Joint Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development as well as TED Fund on 3 bills seeking the establishment of agriculture-related tertiary institutions in different parts of the country. They include the National Veterinary Research Institute Gombe Establishment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Saidu Alkali, Federal University of Agriculture Ogoja Cross River State Establishment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Jaribe Agon Jaribe, as well as Federal College of Agricultural Technology Opialu Ojakbo Benue State Establishment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Abamoro. After working on the bills, the committee gave its nod for the establishment of these institutions as they will, among other things, promote and enhance knowledge in agricultural activities and research, alongside facilitating research in animal diseases, treatment, control and standardization of manufacture of animal feeds, among other things. The chairman, Senator Yahya Abdullahi, thanked the Senate for the opportunity to serve.
I wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and humbly request the Senate to pass this bill.
The report was considered clause by clause in the Committee of the Whole, leading to the third reading and passage of the 3 bills.
Reports of the Senate Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity.
Similarly, the Senate considered the report of the Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity on the Institute of Information and Communications Technology, Nsu Ehime Mbano Establishment Bill 2023. The bill was sponsored by Senator Frank Ibezim, read a second time and referred to the committee on Thursday, the 2nd of March 2023. Having done a thorough job on the bill, the chairman, Senator Yakubu Oseni, gave the committee's recommendations.
Having taken into consideration the observations and comments of relevant stakeholders of various provisions of the bill and made amendments where necessary, the committee hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity, which was referred a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Institute of Information and Communication Technology Institute, Ehime Mbano, Imo State, and for other matters connected therewith, 2023 SB 1105, having considered same, report favorably thereon and recommend that the Senate do pass the bill as amended.
Accordingly, the report was considered clause by clause in the Committee of the Whole, leading to the third reading and passage of the bill.
Those against any ayes have it.
Mr. President, distinguished senators.
Also same day, the Senate gave concurrence to some of the bills passed by the House of Representatives. They include National Agency for Foods and Drugs Administration and Control NAFDAC Amendment Bill 2023, as well as Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2023. The Senate leader gave a synopsis of the 2 bills.
National Agency for Drugs Administration, for Drugs and for Food and Drugs Administration, and the Control Act seeks to amend the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control Act in order to capture the other forms of packaging water other than in bottles, encourage cooperation with the relevant agencies in carrying out its functions, introduce the coordination of clinical trials and some new offenses and increase penalties for commission of offenses under the bill. The second one is the Federal Medical Center Amagu Iko Establishment Bill 2022. This bill seeks to amend the Federal Medical Centers Act 2022 to establish Federal Medical Center Amagu Iko.
They were then considered in the Committee of the Whole, leading to their third reading and passage.
The ayes have it.
The Senate also considered several bills for second reading before proceeding on the Easter and Sallah break. Let's take reports on these as compelled and presented from our studio.
The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RAMFAC.
Amongst the bills considered for second reading was the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission Act 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Olubunmi Adetumbi. According to the sponsor, the bill seeks to grant the Commission enforcement powers in the monitoring of accrual to and disbursement of revenue from the Federation account and bring the Act in conformity with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. More of what the bill is seeking to achieve include
to outline penalties for any revenue-generating agency of the Government of the Federation which fails, refuses, delays, or neglects to remit monies collected for and on behalf of the Government of the Federation within 30 days of such collection, to provide for the guarantee, the funding of the Commission by the federal, state, and local government as opposed to a present situation where the federal government provides grossly inadequate envelope funding, whereas its functions as enshrined in the Constitution serves the benefit of the three tiers of government in the Federation. And finally, Mr. President, to prescribe appropriate sanctions for any public official who knowingly or willfully submits a false statement of account to the Commission.
One comment was taken on the bill.
The inefficiency or inability of the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation and Office of the Auditor General of the Federation to monitor these revenue generating agencies has led to various leakages within the system. Most of these revenue generating agencies do not remit what they are supposed to remit as at when they are supposed to remit, and at times they under-remit. So I want to believe that this bill is apt, such that at the end of the day, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission will be adequately empowered to monitor the remittance of funds from these revenue generating agencies as at when due.
The bill then scaled second reading and referred to the Committee on National Planning and Economic Affairs to report back in 4 weeks.
The bill was read for the first time in this House chamber on the 6th of April 2022.
The Power and Petroleum Safety Institute, or Refurbishing, Anambra State Establishment Bill 2023, sponsored by Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, was also debated at second reading. In his lead debate, the sponsor disclosed that the institute, when established, will train staff members of the 11 electricity distribution companies DISCOs and 6th generation companies GENSCOs, alongside petroleum companies, all of which came into being as a result of the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005.
The Power and Petroleum Training Institute established by this bill will provide the training needs for these companies to train skilled professionals required in the power and petroleum industry and other related sectors. In fulfilling this administration desire to ensure adequate, reliable, and sustainable electricity power supply for social economic development and nation building, this institute will be poised to providing the needed training to the DISCOs, GENCOs, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Nigerian Electricity Management Service Agency, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Rural Electrification Agency, among others.
The establishment of a safety institute for two very important areas, the power sector and of course the petroleum industry. We know it too that before this time, if we go to the petroleum industry, even from all the subsidiaries that we have in NNPC, today, and all other IOCs and NOCs that we have in Nigeria, Mr. President, safety is a very important component of the operations. And we have found out that the safety programs that they have been doing all this while has been outside this country. And of course, that one has been draining our resources, no doubt. to have a local, institute, that will train their personnel, the huge personnel that we have in these two areas. I think it will be a very good thing for our country.
The bill then scaled second reading and was referred to the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service to report back in 4 weeks.
The functions of the commission, amongst others, include...
Another bill presented for second reading is the FCT Sports Commission Establishment Bill 2023. In his presentation, Senator Philip Aduda stated that when established, the commission will, amongst other things, encourage the development, organization, and participation in sport in the FCT, coordinate and integrate efforts to raise the standard of performance in sport in the FCT, promote, in cooperation with other sporting bodies, the physical fitness and general well-being of all persons in the FCT, organize and assist financially the participation of the FCT in sports at interstate, national and international levels, as well as provide and maintain sports centers and facilities for the training of Nigerians as instructors and organizers of sports.
FCT has suffered greatly from the disconnect that has existed between our sports history and our current performances. We need to recognize the fact that our history was created for a reason, and that has best of our future truly lies on how we are able to manage historical events and pass it on from one generation to the other in sports process and discovery.
The bill was debated.
Sport is a venue of not just for the recreational purpose, and indeed for business, is one event that unites people. Whenever we have an international competition, Nigerians forget their differences. And I think we should continue to give all the encouragement that is needed. So I stand to say, Mr. President, all this can only be achieved and enhanced when we have a sport commission in place, which will help in the administration, policy formulation, implementation of policies of sport development.
This is actually not a new bill. It's actually to legalize what is already in place. They have a Department of Sports in FCT, and FCT being considered as a state should have a commission, an agency that should take care of the activities of sports in Abuja.
This is a very straightforward bill. All we need to do is to put the question and pass this bill.
As a result, the bill was read a second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Sport and Social Development to report back in 4 weeks.
Those against any the ayes have it.
Those were reports of some of the activities of the Senate before the Easter and Sallah break. We will close the program with our profile segment. Stand by for our Senator of the Week.
Senator Kola Balogun represents Oyo South Senatorial District on the platform of the PDP. He attended Ratibu Muslim Primary School, Ibadan, in Oyo State for his first school leaving certificate, as well as St. Peter's College, Abeokuta, Ogun State for his West African School Certificate, WASC. For tertiary education, he attended North Texas University in Denton, Texas, United States of America, and graduated first with a Bachelor of Arts degree and later with a PhD, all in political science. He contested and won election to the Senate to represent Oyo South Senatorial District under PDP in the 2019 general elections. Senator Kola Balogun is a member of several committees of the Senate, and his legislative interests include education, industrial development, and agriculture.
We come to the end of this week's edition of Inside the Senate. Join us again next week for another edition. Keep attention. tap on all of our episodes from our YouTube channel as well as other social media platforms showing on your screen. I remain Hussaina Amina Aboki. Thanks for watching.